After a gorgeous week of weather, it got cold today. But I managed to get some work done, and the CD shelf project is coming along. I got quite a bit done. I really need to get the planer out, but I can't take off very much from these shelves and have them still fit in the dados I've made for them. So spent a lot of time with the sander, and I've got a ways to go. I've got to get 35 board feet sanded down and then put together. I think I'm gonna do half lap connectors on the sections of board. Some of them will, after some cutting and some trimming of the ends, it'll probably be some 40-inch pieces and some 30 to 36-inch pieces, and I need 3 rows of 7.5 feet and 2 rows of 8.5, 8 or 8.5. So that's what's going to be happening hopefully later this week. For now, the video I've got shows finishing off the dados on the upright, the wall mount pieces, and then kind of some proof of concept looks with some of the shelf inserts on. So please take a look. Thanks, and appreciate you taking time. It is table saw day again here on Dead End Street, and I'm working on the uprights, the supports for the CD display shelves, and I've got 3 kind of mocked up here, although this is the only one that has the 5 shelves, with the bottom being a little longer because I want to do a half lap to an inset to put the bottom shelf on. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, with a little bit at the top as a side guide for the CDs. And so that is the one that is at the correct height. And I just ran through all of these boards with this width right here. So I have the widths all done, and now I'm going to set up the table saw to do this cut. And so it looks like we're going to take off about 1/4 of an inch, and that will get it so that we've got all of these that I can choose from for the best options to end up with 5 or 6 or 7 of these, and then we'll see which are the best out of those. And I may try to do the dados today as well. We'll see. But that is the plan for today, along with a couple of little side projects I hope to do as well. Thanks for coming along on this process with me. Well, that is a reasonably good result. I did a time lapse of cutting these that I'll probably post as well, and something strange happened in the process, although maybe it's not all that uncommon. Huh, yeah, it did leave a mark. At some point in the process, something jumped off of the table saw and caught me in the cheek. Couple of options on that, and I guess it's just going to happen. The most likely thing is that because I was taking off kind of a thin strip, there might have been the nub of a twig or a branch growth that was basically a little knot that came loose, and the saw caught it and flipped it up. The other thing, and it's maybe more of a concern, is that I've noticed in a couple of the holes some of those little tiny threads of wire. So it's that are sometimes wrapped around these spiral nails that are used commonly in pallets. And that could be what hit as well. I actually heard it bounce like 2 or 3 places. I'm not sure I can find it. If it is a little knot, I doubt if I'd even find the right one. But anyway, that I wondered if it cut me, and did a little bit. Nothing. Good thing I have these glasses on. They're not technically safety glasses, but they are shatterproof or whatever. So I use them as functioning as my safety glasses, and that's good to know. I got to be very, very careful. Something's going to try to jump out if I'm not, even when I am being careful. It's going to happen. But anyway, back to the wood. I hope that I might, in that time lapse, might even show, help me figure out what that was. But here's what I've got. I've got more than enough of these support boards, and now it's a matter of doing the dados and seeing if I can get it set up on the right measurement. I was making this way too hard. I was actually going to cross dado with the actual horizontal boards, but there's no way for me to know for sure if the studs in the house where I'm going to be putting this up are exactly right, that 16 on center. I mean, I'm thinking that they are, but I'm also not assuming that I can get them exactly on center. And so trying to cross cut it and do that gorgeous Japanese style intersection of wood is not what I need to try on this. So I'm going to be doing the cross boards instead of insetting them like this. I'm going to be doing them flat and getting the lengths that I need. And I can show you, I've started a pile of those that I'm going to have to refine a bit. Here are the lengths of basically 1 by 3.5, so 1 by 4, so 3/4-ish, 7/8-ish by 3.5-ish. You see some longer ones in the back there. This is supposed to end up being 35 running feet of shelf space, and I believe I have enough. If not, I have some other boards I can pull out, but this is stuff that I've salvaged from pallets, and of course some of the ends will need to be cut off and all of that. I'm trying to decide how I'm going to connect them in case they need to be a total of 5-inch depth from the wall. So what it might come down to is doing them and then like having a running section of board, but then also having some that are basically cut in half to get the distance of a total of 5 inches from the wall, including the offset. So if I've left 2 inches there, then I need 3 inches of board, but I'm not sure that that's far enough back. So I'm going to have to experiment with that a bit to see if the dados need to be cut deeper, and so then I have to have wider shelf boards. I'm kind of thinking out loud. Thanks for bearing with me here. Well, here's a little discovery already. Without any sanding, that is not even a snug fit on what the dados that I have cut now. So my dados have to be, I think, well, I would like for the dados to be just a bit tighter. Like this one would be just about right. A bit of sanding to get the surface off, and that will probably fit in there real well. So this cut is just a bit too wide. Why is Bob Uecker coming to mind here? And this is probably just about right. So if I make this the pattern size that I use, then that will help me have a good snug fit with these boards, but not have to be, beating them up too bad to get them in. I'm also trying to decide how I want to connect these, if I'm going to do glue ups or if I want to try to get flat ends and then dowels and offset them a bit, like a pattern where there'd be a certain amount sticking out and a dowel here and a dowel here, and just kind of fit the boards together. That, again, that may be overthinking this, but those are some of the ideas that I'm considering. All right, for the sake of demonstration here, if I want a total of 5 inches, then right now I've got 5 3/8. So I can take an 1/8 off of a side that's already pretty good and run the rest of the boards with 1/4 or so, maybe just less than 1/4 for some sanding. Maybe I'll do a round off on it. But basically an 1/8 on either side, and then maybe a round over. And that should get me the boards I need. I'm going to practice with this junk piece here and see if I've got the measurements right. Just a moment of honesty and hopefully clarity here. I'm not sure exactly how much of this cutting to show. So I'm doing it at the end just to say we've got one side clean on many boards, and there are several of them which, if useful at all, will only be useful as partial pieces. Some of them have splits down the middle and that kind of thing. So getting ready to do the other side, and I'm going to double check my measurements and make sure that I'm not cutting off too much. All right, I have made the uprights. Actually, some of these are going to be a little bit shorter because 2 or 3 of them will only be 2 shelves because of the way they're going to be installed. But I'm going to start them all at the same. I have got what I'm calling my pattern. This one was just right. This one is a little too far out, needs to go in. This one was close, and I was able to take just enough off that it's just right now. So I'm on the verge of getting lazy here, and that's concerning me. And what I mean by that is I was just about to start just putting this against another board and just going through that way. I'm not trusting that right now, so I'm going to, at least on one, I'm going to actually mark it with a pencil and do a separate cutout and then see how it does, and then decide if I think I can make this something that I won't cut into but can cut into the other boards by using it as a template. Not totally confident of my template cutting abilities yet, so let's try another way first, and then we'll try see what the best approach is. All right, I've decided to kind of split the difference here. Here's what I'm doing. I'm sorry if I'm not making this very visible. I have practiced this a bit, and I've got the cuts going through using this as a template. I'm getting ready to do this next one, and I think this clamping setup is going to work, and I should be able to cut the outside edges and then just clean out. That should make it easy to do. So let's take a look. I won't bore you with the sawing. Maybe it'd be fun to do a time lapse, but I think you get the idea. Here is the basic structure. I need about 6 to 8 inches on the far side. I did not get the measurement for where that first stud is from the wall, which is a stairwell. And I might need one more, or at least an end cap, probably an end cap board. But this gets out to about here, about 7.5 feet at the top, and we'll have two of the boards. That's the top two shelves. The bottom three shelves will only go 6 feet. Okay, so I'm going to try a couple of the boards I have worked up here and just kind of lay it out and see what it looks like. Okay, just as kind of a proof of concept here, that one dado is actually a little too wide, so it will accept a board that hasn't been sanded yet. So I'm just doing that one level, but that's the idea. And I'm going to grab my CD sample so that I can get a look at how that would go on the wall. Yeah, that is about the grab distance that my friends are looking for. They don't want to have to dig into the shelf to get it out. They want it just sticking out a little bit. I think that's just about right. So I'm going to start sanding some of these long boards. Here we go. Have I mentioned that I feel blessed and grateful? There's some things going on in my little world right now that I could get down about, and I have been, but the big thing to remember is there's small things compared to the blessings that I have and the gratitude that I need to remind myself of and present and genuinely appreciate. And I appreciate you watching too. Thank you. This is where I'm going to close it out today. The progress has been, I was going to say significant. It has been very promising. I've got extremely tight tolerance here, more than I would like, but less than I would like. It probably needs a little more room to breathe there, but the idea is working, and the sanding seems to be getting it to the point where I can get the shelves in. So I'm going to finish off checking to see that I've got enough shelf distance, and then I just figured out a way that I can connect the board so that I get 7-footers and 8-footers. And yeah, we're going to call this enough of a project for the day. And I sure appreciate anybody that's taken time to watch, and would be glad for any comments you might have. I realized 3 things I was doing that were way more, or was going to do, that were way more difficult than they needed to be. What have I missed? What am I doing that's making it a lot harder than it has to be? Any insights would be extremely helpful. Hey, I'm blessed and grateful and thankful that I get to do this, and that I get to share it, and hopefully people get a chance to enjoy it, or even if they hate it, get to let me know about it. Have a great week. Thank you.